Welcome, Montijn van Loo. I'm very happy to have this video conversation with you to introduce you, a new participant at Math for Wisdom. And you're a thinker. I feel very much like me, just so much younger. Although you have years of experience already, thinking deep thoughts, thinking investigations. And so we're going to talk about that. I am Andrius Kulikauskas. This is Math for Wisdom.
Yes, Rafa wisdom. uh,
So,
uh,
so
hello, everyone.
yes,
Uh,
very good.
yeah,
Welcome. And so, please, could you introduce yourself?
my name is Montijn van Loo, and I'm situated in the Netherlands. I was born here and raised here, and I am still a student. So I still am in the academic system, but I'm trying to find my own way there. And well, there are a lot of things I can say about me, like my interests. I would say I'm generally interested in a lot of things, but perhaps for this video and this context, um, well, actually, I know you're gonna ask me a different question, question later on. So I'll just keep it more personal now. So yeah, besides doing being interested in academics generally, I like making music. I like doing theater. I also heard you did improv theater once,
Yes,
comedy
I did.
theater.
Yes, that's true. That's
Yes,
true. That's
yes.
something we
I
may
really
have, we
think,
can play around with, maybe. That's
yeah,
very,
no.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I also like doing physical. I've been boxing for a long time in my life. I know you feel,
No
yeah.
boxing. No, I'm not going to do boxing. But go on. I'm sorry. You
Yeah,
keep going.
I generally like to be like because maybe like to get a bit. Yeah, I'm generally I like thinking very deeply, but
Mhm.
one thing that theater and improv theater mostly and boxing have in common, also piano, for example, music,
Oh, wow.
guitar, is to get in a flow state, to not think about
Hmm.
anything but the act in of
Hmm.
itself. So
Hmm.
I have like a lot of these thingies I just like to do just to get out of my head, and so the time I'm not thinking about all these ideas, I'm mostly likely just getting in some kind of flow like this. Yeah, and I think that's a bit about me.
That's a great introduction. I didn't know that. I think that's very relevant. So we're going to go very deep now, and but you have ways to climb out, so we're not going to get lost.
Mhm.
So the question is that I love to ask people: what is your deepest value in life, which includes all of your other values?
Um, which includes all the other values. I would say that I have like two core values, but
Hmm.
not in the sense that they uh, include the other values, but rather in that embracing these two values, you get a certain attitude in life
Hmm.
that makes you come to these other values perhaps as a result. And I would say that these two values would be the beauty of truth and the beauty of us. And there's a reason I want to say in terms of beauty, because I think no value is mediated by beauty.
Hmm.
Reason being is that every time we say we have a certain kind of value, this is mostly or maybe only relevant in moral decision making. And in moral decision making, I think what we do in terms of just the experience is just to ask oneself, what is the most beautiful story I wish to enact? And that only in these kind of, in terms of beauty, these values are, well, become clear. So in that sense, that value is mediated by beauty. So that's why I like to refer directly to beauty of stories directly. So yeah, the beauty of us and the beauty of truth. And I think if you have those two, you as a result develop a certain attitude that is enough to explore all the other values of like beauties that could perhaps exist. And there's a lot more detail to say about that, but that would be like in a nutshell.
That's fantastic and very rich and deep. And so we'll go further because then I'll ask you like, well, when you say beauty of us, what do you mean by us?
um so perhaps like in terms of like the logical story, I would first say, oops, there goes my pen. I would first say the like explain what the beauty of truth is, how that enacts
Hmm.
in kind of cycle, and how beauty of us is nothing more than enhancing that cycle to not only include the perspectives that are relevant for you, but also for others.
Hmm.
Um, so I can give you like how would I would say like the best uh, in terms of information load, the best way of going about that, if you want, or I can
You
directly
tell me,
jump into.
this is all helpful and this is very rich, and please continue. Yes.
So I think this general attitude where I would say that value is mediated by beauty, really just says that we all who actually are thinking, okay, there's a moral decision to be made, and now I'm probing different kind of stories based on their felt beauty, just the sake of the story for in and of itself, then you are enacting will to beauty. That's essentially the essence of will to beauty, that you just are, and it's very, very minimal still. It's literally just you have a moral decision to make. You're probing different stories and say, all right, this is the most beautiful one to do. So a concrete example would be um, where you're walking to the street and you see some money on the ground, and then you can ask yourself, what is the kind of story I want to tell myself? That I am a person who gets money and does everything for themselves, or they return it to the owner, and what's that the more beautiful story? And then, you can then say, well, perhaps the latter one is more beautiful. So that's generally will to beauty. But
Hmm.
I think the moment one also sees the beauty of truth,
Hmm.
which would say that a right wrong is more beautiful than a false right. So you would rather see yourself true and also your mistakes than be clouded and then see perfection. You
Hmm.
see this more beautiful. This essentially you're saying there's beauty in humility as well. That say seeing beauty in truth is enacts a certain behavior that you would essentially kill your ego. So you want to actively kill your ego. The will to of the beauty of truth leads to the rule to doubt. Um, and that really leads to a certain cycle where every time you're at a moral decision-making process, you're first asking yourself, okay, well, what is the situation? You wish to first kill your ego to then be rebirthed by beauty. So you first ask yourself in all sincerity, humility, you're ready to let go of this grip you have on the world. And you're just
Hmm.
asking yourself, what is the situation? What are the facts at play? And you just, you then to a certain answer. And from that ground, then you can ask yourself, okay, what is now the most beautiful story I wish to tell myself? Um, so that would be then the will to true beauty. I would just say it conveniently. So then you have see, okay, we have the will to beauty.
Hmm.
With the beauty of truth, we
Hmm.
get the will to true beauty. And
Okay.
then the question is, what is then the beauty of us? What is going about there? Essentially, when we are talking about the death of ego, where it's essentially just the inquiry of situation, what is the situation now?
Hmm.
You can just really limit yourself to like you're going about the situation, only perspectives which are relevant to you. So, okay, I'm only thinking about how things affect my life. These are the insights I will only gather. But to have the beauty of us is also to care about other perspectives. So that leads to the rule of care, that you actually are also really thinking about what are the perspectives of the other people and integrating that as a whole. So that the story, it does not only tell your story, it tells the story of us. And it really just comes about, though, the beauty of us is, it's more beautiful to tell yourself, what story am I going to tell myself? But like about like the story I'm going to tell with the other people, right? The story of including others. There's more beauty if you integrate the perspectives of other people. So that's like the beauty of us. And essentially how that, relates back to the cycle we've discussed before, the cycle of death of ego and rebirth by beauty, is nothing more that also when you ask yourself, what is the situation? You also really ask yourself what is the situation also regarding of other perspectives which are there in the world. And so essentially you're enhancing the first cycle. And then you have, the will to our true beauty. That's like when you combine all these insights and you have the will to our true beauty. And then we can have a whole discussion about what are like the possible consequences and what are like the metaphysical consequences, or what are the social consequences. Uh, that is a discussion we can have. But before perhaps going into that, is it all clear?
I think you're very articulate, and I think you ended where I wanted to end. Will to our true beauty is
Yes.
what you sum it all up. So that
Yes.
would be your deepest value. Is that right? Will to our true beauty.
Yes. Well, yeah, the will to our beauty is enacted by the two insights, beauty of truth and the beauty of us. That leads to the will to our true beauty, because that's just an attitude, a way of acting. But that way of acting is motivated by these essential two core insights, the
Yes,
beauty
but
of
but
truth and the beauty
but
of us.
this is just a matter of communication, so which includes me understanding you and you being able to make yourself understandable, which I think you have.
Yeah,
And I think for me then to check like the saying like will to our true beauty, right? That
yeah,
includes
yes,
us, that includes the truth, right? It includes beauty, but it also includes the will. It integrates them all things. Like, if you start from there, then you will have to make use of those two insights, the beauty of truth, the beauty of us, right? You'll have to have that whole dynamics will make sense. But where it all comes together, this is a way of pulling it all together, I think, right? Is that
yes,
it's
yes,
a it
yes, yes.
I mean, in terms of as much as languages that people to make, this is
Yeah,
but so if
but maybe like it's really is an attitude. Will to our true beauty is just an attitude, a way
mhm,
of navigating this complexity we call life, really.
mhm,
And that attitude, that way of going about things, which is described as just this cycle, where you also integrate the perspective of other people,
mhm,
that is motivated by these core values. So that's
mhm,
like really the reason, the intrinsic motivation of that behavior of a cycle are these true
mhm,
insights, the beauty of truth and the beauty of us.
mhm,
And there are also extrinsic motivations. But like in terms of like how to represent all these ideas, there's really, I think, they have the process in and of itself, which is the attitude, which is the cycle, the
mhm,
intrinsic motivations, which is the beauty of truth and the beauty of us. And there are also extrinsic motivations. So what will this thing yield? Which are
mhm,
like the intra and the inter-individual moral progressions,
mhm,
which
mhm,
also like have this hinge about being united under the story, and how, and
mhm.
you also have the neurology story about it, how it is all like understood in terms of brain dynamics. But there are like a lot of ideas, and that's maybe why I'm a bit more strict on how to categorize all these ideas to really keep them distinct, so you know what the interrelated connections are.
And so I think I'm very excited because you've spent years and you've spent them not at a table, but in your heart, like explain like how do you want to live your life? And you gave different examples of like what you like to do, and they were quite different things, right? Like so you're
Yes.
all around, Renaissance person. And so you have this credo or you have this attitude, that you speak from.
Yeah, that's
And
maybe a
that's
little
what like so
personal.
if you were leading a working group at the old laboratory I had for independent thinkers, Minchu Solis,
Yeah.
then it would be the work will to our true beauty working group, and you would be, if I called you Mr. Will to our true beauty, you would not feel offended. If I categorize you with this expression, you will not feel boxed in, right? I think it's, is that correct? Or like, see, so this is a way for people to self-define themselves, first of all, in a way that they don't feel constrained by, whether it's gender or profession or, family or nationality or whatever it is, right? This is something where how people may think want to be categorized because this is your soul. This is like your Indian name, that you would, be given by, when you saw the bear or whatever. This is the this is or like, Allah has 100 names or so. Like, so they're all aspects of love. So this is an aspect of love. And this is what God sees when God sees through you, I think, So this is your role in life. And so this is like being a star in the sky. And from that location, you can see all the other stars. You can see the whole sky. This is what you're going to be invested in. And I think this is not going to change your whole life long. It'll be maybe more clarified. You'll be able to explain more and more and more and more. But you've got so much, you've got your whole life invested in this. It's not going to move, but you know yourself, like the Greeks say, know yourself. So now you can live in terms of questions, saying, okay, but what about you over there and you over there and you over there? Like, what can I learn from all these people? How can I, like, which is kind of the point. It's like beauty from all of our perspectives, right?
Yes, and maybe also to short note a little bit about that, because in the first part of the cycle is really the inquiry of situation, where you just ask yourself, what is the situation? Because that's like
Hmm.
the common ground from which the stories are sprouted. Given this situation, what is now the most beautiful story to tell? But to arrive at that situation, well, the world is very complex, and you actually like really embrace that complexity. And so you really are in constant, need of insight, and you take insight from everywhere. Everything can serve as a source of inspiration. So yes, even though there's some kind of clarity in terms of how to live, it really still requires very active engagement with the environment and really listen to everybody because insights they are everywhere. And
Hmm.
I think in a literal sense.
And so it's very helpful. This is part of our shared investigatory culture, I think. At least it seems a helpful thing, like to say, look, and I've collected answers from 800 people. So, this is data, and then we can find other data, and maybe I've got
Yeah.
it slightly wrong or something. But the general thing is that everyone seems to have a unique one. They all seem to be basically versions of love. Like Daniel Friedman, his is interaction, and Marcus Petz, his is meaningful inclusion. And I think Bill Paul is something like joy of life, and so they're all wonderful and beautiful. But sometimes they help us see other people. So, for example, Jere Northrop, who will be working with us, I think, in a language of wisdom working group, I think that we will have, if that's how I would call it. His deepest value is the Goldilocks maximum entropy principle. And I was wondering, what does that mean? But I read recently, Steph Macurdy asked me to read, I'm working for him on cryptocurrency. It's called Chi and Kwai. It's actually two currencies. And he asked me to read the maximum entropy principle by William James, this paper on that. And it's very much the situation that you're talking about. So, like, you have, like, what is the situation? What are the facts at play? Like, what is known? So, you know what you know. And whatever you don't know, you just apply maximum entropy to say, like, we don't know. So it's just going to develop or whatever, like with no preconditions, just with maximum entropy. So somehow, like when you talk about a beautiful story, one way to talk about that is to say, well, what's the story that would be like the unfolding of maximum entropy? You see, which is like the least maybe self-constrained, the most kind of like expansive or,
Yeah.
you know, and
I
so,
get what you mean. Yeah.
and so,
Yeah.
just to maybe to include with Jere, like what, and he knew the maximum entropy principle in the 70s. He was working with John Ray Hammond in eco technology, and they were applying that there. And one of the issues with the maximum entropy principle is you can you have to say what you know. And the problem is that there's different ways you can say what you know, first of all. And it's very hard to say what you know. And so, what is actually the helpful form? So, in practice, what it means practically is like he would have like a minimum version of what you know, let's say, like state the minimum and state the maximum. And then in between is the Goldilocks story. Like the Goldilocks, like is where the little girl was visiting the three bears, and there was the father bear, his was too big, and then the mother bear, let's say, was too small, but like or porridge was too hot, let's say, or cold or whatever. But the child was just right. So she always picked the middle one, which was right. So that's the Goldilocks. And so what that means in his case is an aesthetic principle. You see that if you want to apply this scientific principle that's telling you perfectly, like, well, from a godly point of view, like there's this answer. But we can't really access that answer, so we have to use our aesthetic intuition, our aesthetic judgment, in order to pick something in the middle. And I think that relates to your notion of beauty. You see, beauty is your guide, right? And so his wife is an artist, Lynn. She makes sculptures, etc. So I'm just
Ah,
saying, like, different people approach, sometimes they have quite similar values,
yes. Yes.
but they're not exactly the same. But that there's,
And maybe it's also interesting to note a bit about that. I'm not really sure if I 100% understood the story,
Hmm.
but maybe that will be shown just
Yeah.
in my reaction. There's, I think, a charm to, being only speaking on a superficial level, beauty. You just follow beauty.
Mhm.
And now it's committing yourself into a characterization of what rule this beauty follows. Because I believe that at least under the ethical theories, such as normative ethics, like utilitarianism, deontology, and value, deugdethiek. I forgot a bit about how it's called. Virtue ethics, my bad.
Hmm.
Virtue ethics. I believe they all try to understand and describe this landscape of beauty over the different kind of stories. But
Hmm.
we all like there's always like locally they can have a good description of it, but globally there are always cases to write it fails essentially.
Hmm.
And there's like extra commitments, and then perhaps if I understand as well, this entropy idea feels also like it's trying to describe how this landscape of beauty, is how you can describe this
Or how it
landscape.
gets right, how it gets developed.
Yes, and
You
essentially,
have
I'm
me
not
think
committing to
of
that.
Alex Kiefer. Alex Kiefer is active. You and I met through the Active Inference Institute Discord server. I met Alex Kiefer also through that community, through Carl Friston's theoretical neurobiology meetings, which are wonderful on Mondays and Tuesdays. They're open to the public, which is just a fantastic opportunity. So he showed me a paper that he wrote where it was very much like what you're saying. Like there's virtue ethics, there's the notion of the good, there's ideas like beauty, let's say, and how are they all related morally, but that they all are trying, let's say. So
Yeah.
um, quickly, I want to ask, I'd ask you before, what is a question you don't know the answer to, but that you wish to answer? Something you want to investigate or you are investigating.
uh, uh, there are there are a lot of different kind of questions I am working with. Um, Um, I wanted to say I first wanted to make like a small comment before of your
Please.
story. Maybe it can be um, let's park that for now. So a small comment I wanted to make, like to end this whole beauty thing, is to I wish to do note because also that's a different charm I believe of this will to beauty is there is a neurological story in the sense that
Mm-hmm.
this story which I am talking about is not grounded into you could say human creativity, which also includes the ideals, such as mathematical constructs, but that the whole idea, for example, about how this evaluation happens to be. So what is beauty and what are these stories that we can actually really pinpoint to the brain? Okay, this is also how where that happens. And
Mm-hmm.
I can
Mm-hmm.
give you in short, in probably like it requires a lot more introduction to make it for you clear. But
Yeah,
uh,
so
uh,
we will
uh,
do that later. We have like just a few minutes left, but I do want to. So, what would be a question you
let's
don't know the answer to that you wish to answer?
Okay. So a very beautiful question is just like there's a poem I wrote, and I want to say, well, how valid is this poem? So it like this poem is, I think, poetically very nice, but I would like to say, well, is it also analytically understandable? And it really comes about that, the world is as foreign as is the will, and it is like and this certain oh yeah, I thought you were freezing, but there's like this whole uh yeah, this is essentially, for example, that the reason we have even consciousness, that biological systems recruit the will to help them in certain trials, and by doing so, the conscious experience needs to be to connect the will to the body. So there's just like a certain metaphysics, and I know it's more poetics, but it cannot be ruled out with current science. And I think, well,
No,
it
no.
would be just very cute
So
to know the answer to it.
what's the question there? How do you formulate it as a question?
Is the conscious experience the bridge between the will and the world?
Okay, is conscious experience the bridge between
Between the will and the world.
the will and
And
the
the conscious
world?
experience, yeah, yes.
And
This is like a
so
metaphysical question.
it's
There's
a
also like a
fantastic
very
question. It's a
practical.
deep question. It's your question, and you can see right away that your deepest value is connected to that, right? Because your deepest value was will to our true beauty, and this
Well,
is conscious.
it's not
I'm
relevant.
just saying the will, right? Like is consciousness
Yes.
experienceness the bridge with will and the world? You see, all I'm saying is that it's very natural, like. these questions like emanate from who we are. And those are the great questions. So that's, I mean, it's just natural. That's all, I'm just pointing
Yes,
this out.
yes.
Um, and then I wanted to ask about, and so we'll be working on this together. We're planning on Tuesdays. If people would like to join us, we'll have meetings with everybody every other week, and then you and I will strategize and align ourselves every other week as well on Tuesdays. That's the plan. And so, what's your relationship with truth? You've told us a lot about truth, but what is your relation?
Ah,
Like
yeah.
from a practical point of view, you kind of almost said, but
Uh, I don't know. The best I can do is kill my ego and just enjoy the ride
and that's, I'll just write out. I don't know. The best I can do is to kill my ego
and enjoy the ride.
and enjoy
Just,
the ride.
because it's ride, the ride,
The ride,
like in an
yes.
attraction park.
And I think
Just a bit.
what
Oh,
I think I can add to that from something you said, and we'll see if it connects with that. Well, you said one of the things you said was that um, well, a right wrong is more beautiful than a false right, right? So,
yeah.
and this is kind of what you mean by killing your ego, is to say, I'd rather be true in saying that I'm wrong than be false in pretending that I'm right. That's basically what I
Yes.
mean. And
Yes.
so that means it's this humility, like willing to deferring to the greater, to the actual truth, right? Like to defer to the actual truth.
But that's the interesting part. I do not know what this truth is because I really think that transcends just the experience, the feel, the conscious experience. All I can do for myself is just make sure that I'm not, constrained by my ego, and
Mhm.
then my automatic sense making, you can even call this what is the default, what is the kind of
Mhm.
knowledge behavior you have when you have no ego. You could call it as like perfect Bayesian with the Bayesian brain hypothesis, or you can go to like an example where you're just disinterested. You just also just have certain dynamics in how you make conclusions, and yeah, and I think like yeah, all I can do is like kill my ego, and whatever those then processes will leave me to be, I'll just be there. And if that's close to truth, well, perhaps yes or no. But regardless of that, the best I could do from the beginning was just to kill my ego. So I'm not really sure even
Well, and
where
from
am I
the
going
and
with
with
this.
regard, just to emphasize the truth, it sounds to me like what you're doing is you make way for the truth, right?
Yes, perhaps that's a very
It's
nice way
just a
of
short,
putting it. Yeah,
to kind of get you out of
yeah,
this.
I
It's
like
not
it.
about
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
right? It's about,
I
I
like
mean,
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you have it in your own words, which is the best. But
No,
what
I like
all
your
I'm doing is
words.
as an organizer, I'm just translating, for
Oh.
my own
Let
research
me write that
purposes.
down. Let me write that down. Let
Make
me
way
see. What
for
did
the
you
truth.
say?
Well,
Give me way
I
for
think
the.
in terms of the relationship, so if now think of it in terms of relationship. Okay, if you're making way for the truth, then what does that say about truth? Truth is something that you should make way for, right? Like truth is
Well,
something
yeah,
that
but
uh,
perhaps like you clean your house because you know a guest is coming, but you don't know who the guest is. But at least now you can come in. So that's essentially by that you're not making any claims about who the guest is, but now you
mhm.
are prepared to embrace it, whatever form it is. So I like what you said. Give way for the truth. That is a very nice way of putting it.
Like my deepest value in life is living by truth, but I mean absolute truth. You see, so it's very similar to yours and actually Jerry's, but it becomes a little bit different because it's more like, God's truth. Like, so it's not about us, right? Like, it's about like there's God and there's like, so it's similar. Now, so my relationship with truth
Oh,
is that truth is an absolute view. So, like, truth would be like,
yes.
well, if God looked through me, right? Like, what would God see? In your case, I'm still wondering, but what is the truth? Then it's what you need to make way for. So it is,
Yeah, but if you really think about the question, what do you need to navigate, especially in moral decision making, you can do that, with will to our true beauty without ever, which is just an
well, I mean,
attitude without ever.
what this is like truth is a traveler for you, right? Like truth is something, or truth is a guest. I don't know what truth is. You see, like who would you make way for? You would make way for a certain kind of traveler, right?
Yeah,
You
like
know,
if you just really ask yourself, what is the situation? You're just like riding your default of just
mm,
just optimal Bayesian thinking, and that will just come to get you to certain conclusions. And well, that's the best you can do. And
That's
if
what
that
you,
if
that's your
that's
relationship. But what is the, I'm just trying to phrase it. Maybe we'll have to think separately. Like, what is the, what does that say about the nature of truth? So, for example, for Kirby Erner, truth is a defensive strategy. You see, for different people, it's very different things. And so I won't try to force this with you, but we'll think about it further. But there's a landscape of truth, and it seems like people are invested in very different layers of it. And that's why it's very hard to work together. But like you may be a person who may be good at that because of the way you see the value of everybody's beauty, the truth, like the beauty of us, let's say, right? I think that
yes.
that's very. So what I'm trying to map out, among other things, is this landscape of truth and understand what people are
Mhm.
invested in. How can we work together? So we have one last minute, and so I'd like to thank you, thank God,
Yeah.
thank the truth, um, thank the richness in your heart. But I'd like to end with a prayer. What would be the kind of prayer that you would like to end with? What would you say?
Well, I see very very good virtue in our in our friendship here, and I think the good friendship is when we are also honest with each other, and that we
Mhm.
look together up to each other. What's the most beautiful thing? So I would just say, yeah, let us be honest. Let's see the beauty of truth. Let us see the beauty of us, and I think together we can make the most beautiful story for ourselves.
I love that very much. I love you, and I love your thinking. And so this is Math for Wisdom.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for watching this video. Please go to mathforwisdom.com or simply read the description to this video to learn how you can join our Math for Wisdom discussion group and our study groups. Thank you for liking this video, for subscribing to this YouTube channel, and for supporting Math for Wisdom through Patreon.
It's so easy. You go to patreon.com. When you're there, you type in Math for Wisdom, and after filling out a few boxes, you too can be a Math for Wisdom Patreon supporter. Give it a try. I did. It was very easy.